So when you visit a website for the first time, what's the first thing that you do? One thing that many people do is explore the navigation menu at the top of the screen and then click on something that's in it. So how do web developers decide what words appear in a navigation menu and what content appears when a user clicks on those words? If you don't have a lot of content, or the content that you have is pretty one-dimensional, putting together a navigation bar is actually pretty easy. But for everyone else, it takes time and some thought and a lot of experimentation. So let me give you an example. The example comes from my grandmother. I have a big box of all of her photos right here. These are pictures that she saved over time, but she never had a chance to put them in a good old-fashioned photo album. At some point, she decided to organize her photos and put them in plastic bags. Think of the different possibilities she had for how to organize her photos. She could have organized them by who was in the photo, what decade they were taken in, where they were taken, or what events they captured. In other words, she had to come up with an information architecture. She has some that specify that these are the Barlows, our family, and that's who's in the photos. She has a few that refer to having taken place on the old family farm. She specifically has a bunch that says Sib and Keith, so my grandmother and her husband, my grandfather. And then some of my favorite ones, and this really goes to how challenging categorization like this can be, miscellaneous family. There's another one that's just miscellaneous. And probably my favorite one, cats. At the time, my grandmother was only organizing the photos for herself, so she just had to worry about whether she would understand the organizational scheme that she picked. But she also had to hope that after she passed away, her information architecture would make sense for someone like me who was viewing those photos for the first time. Web developers use card sorting to experiment with the different ways of organizing the content that's going to be on a website. In the case of your websites, the posts that you're writing will be your content along with the artifacts that you might have with those posts. And so that's the content you have to figure out how to organize. We will be doing two different kinds of card sorting this semester. The first is what's called an open card sort. In an open card sort, participants come up with their own categories into which they put their content. A closed card sort is different. With a closed card sort, participants are given predefined categories and they have to figure out how to put the content that they have into those categories. The categories that are used in either an open or a closed card sort are what often become the words that you see in a navigation menu. Get excited to do some card sorts this semester. Today, I'm going to leave you with some pictures of card sorts that my students have done in the past.